I think we're live.
We are live, I believe, but I think we are live sideways. Somebody tell me, are we live sideways? I hope we're not streaming sideways. Are you having a look kind of like this at us? Or is the video the right way? Yeah, somebody type in the questions and let us know. I guess in a moment I'm going to see for myself when this commercial break here is over. Let me skip that ad. Yep.
Oh, we are sideways.
I guess we're sideways. How can we fix that?
You need to silence that. There
Okay.
we go.
How can we fix that? Let's see if it's possible to fix this before we get started. This is retarded here. Yep, I am live. Let's see here. How can we fix that? Well, here's how I'm going to have to fix that. All right. Hang on, folks. You watch that. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to improvise. You're going to have to help me out.
Okay. I don't know if we can both fit.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll just make do.
Okay, I'm telling you, technical issues.
They didn't do this last week.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that last week. Okay, but we're going to have to just improvise here. I don't know why today our phone wants to be on portrait instead of landscape. Okay, so I guess once the live stream starts, we don't have a choice. So let's see here. I go that way.
There you go.
Okay, you come toward me. Hey, does that mean she has to like get close to me?
That's what we'll have to do.
All right.
Okay, well, welcome to another beautiful day in Costa Rica, and we're coming to you live again from our one of our favorite restaurants. And the internet seems to be better today. However, you know, we had some other issues.
We have other issues, so just know that anytime that you're going to be in the public eye, there's always going to be something that's going to try to throw you off course. And so, you know, it's all in how you respond to things. And, you know, that's a great thing, because when you're in Costa Rica, there's always going to be something tries to throw you off course. And so Rebecca and I always have this favorite saying: when something throws you off course and it just aggravates you to death, it's like, what's the favorite saying?
Go home, gringo.
Go home, gringo. You know, you've got to realize that things happen and you're in another country. It's not nearly as developed as where you might be from. And so you've got to learn how to respond to the unexpected. It's like I said in our other video, expect the unexpected. So, hey, that's what we're doing. We're improvising real quick. But today, I want you to, we're going to be talking about rental tips. Got some great stuff for you. So today we're going to talk about rental tips. You go ahead and put your questions in the chat box so that we can answer those if you didn't already put those questions in the form. Now, if you put your questions in the form, don't worry about them. We've got you covered. We've copied and pasted those, and we're going to address those first because they were in the form, okay? So before we do get started, real quick announcement. Let me get that out of the way. I'm talking about the forum. Yay! The forum finally went live. And so we want you to join and be a member of the forum, right? It's absolutely free to register in the forum. Obviously, inside the forum, there are some premium areas, but hey, that's totally up to you. You can enjoy, have fun in the free area. And if you care to support us, well, that's how you can support us, by joining and becoming a free or becoming a premium member in the forum. Obviously, it's not something you have to do. We don't like to beg people or ask people, but if you see the value in what we're doing, we would love for you to join us as a premium member. And you can simply go to forum.cloudforestchapel.com. Otherwise, join as a free member and have a blast, you know, creating topics, posting questions, and we're there trying to get as many people as possible, because it's impossible for us to know everything, but we can all help one another in the forum to get your answers, your questions answered, okay? So do that. Also, if you're brand new here and you've never subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified of our next live. And with that said, in case you are brand new and you've never been here before, well, you're wondering who those two strangers are? I'm Alan.
I'm Rebecca.
And that's my better half. So guess what? She makes me better. Not that I make her better, or is it vice versa? Anyway, we're going to have a great time today, and we're going to talk about rental tips in Costa Rica. So, hey, the first thing is, we've talked about the best places to live. We've shown you some phenomenal places to live. But now people are saying, well, now that I know where to live, what do I rent? Do I rent short-term, long-term? Do I have to have a contract? Do I have to, is it going to be expensive? Where do I, all those questions and more are going to be answered today. So make sure that you hang on until the very end. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. The very first thing, well, Rebecca, you tell them, what is the first thing we did when we came?
What do you mean, what we rented?
Well, yeah.
Oh, well, before we came, we had looked on a rental site and made contact with a realtor that was supposed to show us a house, show us around. And so, gosh, hindsight, and everything that we're sharing here is strictly from our perspective.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have never rented a condo. We've never lived or rented in the city.
Never been in a gated community.
All those are fabulous places, but we came on a very tight budget because we had a goal in mind. We wanted to live on as little as we could so that we can save to buy the piece of property that we want. And even though we live on a small budget, we do have to dip into our savings every now and then for unexpected things that come up, or maybe we want to take a trip back home. Okay, so when we first came, hindsight, we should have stayed in San Jose for a night.
Yes.
We arrived at the airport and thought, we're just going to drive to San Vito in the southern part of Costa Rica because according to the map, it wasn't a very long drive.
Yeah, it was only about that far.
So, but being inexperienced with the mountains and the conditions of the roads, it took us a lot longer. We had trouble even getting out of San Jose because, we're used to seeing if there's an interstate, a big interstate sign. Well, it wasn't that apparent. So, hindsight, we should have stayed in San Jose for a night at an Airbnb or something like a hotel.
That's right.
But what we did is drove straight and went straight to the house that we had arranged to rent.
That's right. So, like Rebecca said, we're giving you our perspective. Could we have rented a $1,500, $2,000 a month rental? Sure, we could have, but that wasn't our goal. Our goal was to live as affordable and as cheap as possible so that we could save up as big a nest egg as possible so that when we found our perfect slice of paradise, that's what we'd invest into. So we intentionally planned on traveling light. We intentionally planned on not buying things. To this day, we still don't have living room furniture because we don't utilize it much and wanted to buy the right thing for where we were going.
We don't have an oven. We just have a stovetop.
So we're going to share with you a lot of rental tips that, yes, they will be relevant if you're renting high-end, but some of the things that we're talking about won't be relevant if you're renting high-end because some of those things will be taken care of, not all, okay? Costa Rica is a very different animal, but we're going to be sharing with you some very valuable tips.
Right, and when we first came, $500, that was low compared to what we were paying in the United States. So we thought, okay, we're getting a good deal. But there was another place that before we arrived, we could not arrange to rent because there were people in it, but it was coming available shortly. And it was $800. I was in love with the place. I thought, ooh, what a great deal.
And it actually had 2 or 3.
I think it had 3 units.
Right.
So,
well, no, I think it had 2 units and a restaurant.
Oh, that's right. A common area with a dining. So we thought, okay, let's get this place and our family will be able to come, great price, everything. And one of our tips is that, you really, before signing any kind of contract or getting into anything longer than maybe a month, need to go and see the place. we went to that place that I was in love with before coming here, and found that it was just way too hot for me. It was too humid, too hot. The altitude was not high enough, and I can stand the heat if I'm on the beach. I'm getting to see the ocean, getting to experience the breeze that comes off of the ocean. But this was just far enough away from the ocean where there was no breeze, couldn't really see the ocean, or wasn't easy to get to, and it wasn't high enough in altitude to make it cool. So
right.
that's a tip. So I was grateful that $800 place was not available, even though it was gorgeous, because I wouldn't have wanted to keep staying there.
That's right.
But realize that if you're coming, the first place that you rent, you might only be there for a little while, so
Yeah.
don't sweat it.
That's right. So the point here is that you do want to see it. Hey, if you're way off in your country and you're just trying to arrange something, that's what we did. Our very first place, where we almost rented it sight unseen, and you can rent it sight unseen as long as you know that, hey, you're not having to sign a contract, you're renting it sight unseen, and you're only going to be there a month at the most. You can stand on your head for a month, and that way you have an opportunity to look around and find something. Our first place, we were there a month. They said we could get internet. They lied. Well, they didn't lie. You could get internet on this little data card that, at the middle
At 2
of
o'clock in the morning, you could get some emails downloaded.
That's right, So it wasn't the internet I needed to continue working, and so I would have loved to have stayed in our first place. And it just wasn't possible. And it was only $500, and it was pretty much furnished.
It was fully furnished.
Well, I can't say fully furnished.
No?
It didn't really have a living room, right? I mean, it was a bedroom on one end, a bedroom in the other, and a common place in the middle. It did have everything that we needed in the kitchen, but did it have a living room set? No, it just had a couple of lounge chairs,
that's true.
So it had everything we needed for a temporary place. So that was the good thing. So, okay, first thing, make sure you see the place, and remember, everything is temporary. Go light, okay?
Right. At least it's temporary for the kind of houses we're talking about. We're talking about renting from individuals. If you get into, I'm sure, a condo or a gated community, they're going to ask, I'm pretty sure, for some type of contract before letting you move in.
But we don't know that because we've never rented a condo. But anything that is going to be around touristy, it is going to be little different. We rented one house in Sabalito. Her daughter had built the house, never lived in it. It was brand new. In my opinion, that was high end because it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yeah.
It wasn't at all the Tico type house. She could have easily gotten $500 or $600 a month for that house, and instead we ended up paying what?
$250?
$250, I think. It was brand new, and we painted it all up. I mean, the inside wasn't even done painting, and we fixed it up really nice for them.
Right, and it even had furniture and so forth. And let me clarify, when we say a Tico style house, what we're meaning is the traditional Tico house. These are older homes that were half cinder block and the rest,
Right.
wood, and a lot of them have poor wiring and, a lot of times no ceiling. You just
That's
have the
right.
tin roof, and you can get some really great deals.
Well, keep in
and-
mind why you're saying that, okay? Yes, you can rent from $60 a month to $6,000 a month. Matter of fact, we almost rented this one brand new Tico house for $60 a month. It was brand new, no one had lived in it, but in Costa Rica, all the Ticos can get a free government house. It's a Bono house, okay? And
if they have a piece of
if
property.
they have
to
a
put
piece
on
of
it.
property. They got the free government house, but understand the free government house doesn't give you a ceiling. It doesn't give you a lot of stuff. Doesn't give you the electrical, doesn't give you the water. So you got shelter. And it's your responsibility to hook up the electricity, hook up the water, and this house hadn't, okay? So the guy was gonna rent it to us for $60 a month. I agreed to pay for a porch because I wanted a porch on the back end, so I paid for the porch, was gonna install the electric, install the water, and hey,
We're going to put a ceiling because
it was
the
gonna
tin
come out
roof
of our
is-
rent.
Yeah, and the tin roof is very loud.
Right.
When
So
it rains.
I'd already put in $500 or $600 for this thing, and I wasn't gonna have to pay rent for probably the next year because it was only $60 a month. And long story short, we couldn't get internet, and I ended up giving that guy all of that money, okay, which I didn't feel bad because he was poor, he needed it, but you can rent very cheap, and this wasn't a bad place, it was brand new, but it was brand new Tico type house that had the typical 2 bedrooms, bathroom in the middle, but it was all cement, okay? So there's lots that we could talk about on what is a typical Tico house.
Yeah.
The typical Tico house we live in now, you know, it's got cement up to about 1 meter, has wood the rest of the way, and you know, it's very poor wiring. It's the usual 2 bedrooms, bath in the middle. So anyway, I don't want to go into all that because we're talking about rental tips, but that gives you an idea. Yes, you can rent Tico type homes, save a ton of money. You can rent an American style home, but you're going to pay $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month. Your choice. What are you happy with living in? For us, it's a house. It's you know, and as long as I can be comfortable and safe, that's all that matters, okay?
And for us, we know it's not forever.
That's right.
You know, we're doing this with a purpose, you know. And so in the rental tips, we'll give you, if you're looking for one of those bargain rent houses, we're going to give you a few tips about what to look for, because you don't want to get something that is like you can't use your appliances and so forth, you know, things that we've learned the hard way.
That's right.
So, and a lot of the houses we've lived in have been because we did house sitting. We've lived in 12 different places, 12 different houses, and many of them were because of house sitting.
That's
and
right.
So it was Americans, Canadians, Europeans that have really luxurious homes, and they go home during rainy season, and they need someone to stay in their house.
That's right.
So that's also an option.
Okay, so let's get back to the rental tips. First, it'd be great if you could see the property. If not, you come to Costa Rica, the first thing you want to do is probably find you an Airbnb. You can find an Airbnb, stay in it for 2 or 3 days, a week, however long necessary, where you can drive around the town, walk around the town, and try to find a place. Remember, the smaller the town, the less likely you're going to actually find a house on the internet or on some site. The larger the town, like here in San Isidro, Paris Zeledon, yeah, you'll find those because it's a bigger community, okay? San Jose, the Central Valley, no problem finding those kind of rentals, and we're gonna share our links and our resources to where you can find those things, okay? Because while we're doing a live today, we will be putting out an actual video kind of detailing step by step, giving you all those resources, and you'll be able to download those resources either from the link in the description or from inside the forum, okay?
Right. And we recommend Airbnb. That's what we use. I'm sure there are other sites, but our experience with Airbnb has been that you can look at the reviews. You can speak to the owners. Well, you can communicate with the owners before ever moving. And when you stay, most B&Bs, bed and breakfasts, are listed on Airbnb. And you can have an immediate friend, because if you're staying in their place, great resource for asking, you know, for Uber or taxi, asking where to go to get some shopping done. I mean, it's just...
And which, now that is probably a very important tip. When you first get here, rent an Airbnb, you immediately have made a connection with a Tico who owns that B&B. And now you have someone that's going to help you in our very next tip, which our very next tip is once you've walked around town, you've seen a place for rent, and you want to contact them. Listen, very important, write this down right now. I don't care how good your Spanish is. I don't care how nice you think they are or how nice you are. Do not, as a foreigner, as a gringo, you do not call them. You do not say, hey, I see your place. How much is it? If you do that, you are going to pay way too much rent. So go back to that Airbnb, talk to this person that you are renting from and say, hey, look, I saw this nice little place that I'm interested in for rent. Please do me a favor. Would you call them and tell them you are interested in it and ask them how much is the rent? Be sure to clarify. Don't tell them, hey, I'm calling for my gringo friend and he wants to know how much your rental is. Oh, it's $500 a month because do you see them dollar signs in my eye? Okay, So that's a very important tip. Have a Tico, call, ask them to say, please tell them you're interested in it. How much is the rent?
Right. And we're not talking about things that are posted. You know, if you find it online, of course, that's going to be the price. There's no negotiating. I mean, I guess you could negotiate somewhat, but that's, or talking to somebody and hearing about a house that is available for rent.
That's right. So, so that's a very important tip. Now, once you find a place and it's like, yeah, I like this place, internet may be important for you. And in the next video that we do, I'll show you pictures because it's a little bit hard to describe, but you can, you know, where the way you get from town, the less likely that you're going to have regular internet, okay? And when I say regular internet, you can drive down the highway, and if you look at the light poles, the electrical poles, you'll see a box, and they're normally kind of a faded green, light green box, and cables are in it. Well, that's the internet box, and if you see that, well, then you know, oh, well, if they've got the internet box, chances are I can probably get internet, you know, easily, okay?
Right. Because before, let's say you move into a house that doesn't have the usual internet, and you need internet, so you contact somebody to go and set up a dish and so forth. They're going to charge you an installation fee, which is
around
usually,
$300.
right? And
Okay.
then they're going to want you the first month of internet service, and that's a lot of money to spend if you're
And
not
you don't
sure
even
if
know
you're
that
going
you're
to
going to be
staying
there.
there.
Okay.
Right.
So you're looking for something temporary right at first, and then you can use these tips to find you something that may be a little bit more long term. Okay. So you're looking to make sure it has internet. If you don't see that box, doesn't mean you can't. It just means now you got to spend more valuable time going to the internet place, contacting people like Cabletica, some of the other resources I'll give you, and then you have to spend a long time in there and saying, okay, this is where I want to be at. Do you have internet in that area? No, I don't. And then you go to someone else and someone else and someone else before you finally find out that they don't have internet because you were too remote, and then you have to find an entrepreneur who provides tower to tower or what's called point to point internet, which is expensive. So, real important thing, that's the tip. Look for that internet box, and in our next video, you'll see what that actually looks like, okay? Now, the next thing, you found a place, it's got an internet box, and you found out that the price, you had someone call, and it's like, okay, great. I think I want to rent here. You make arrangements to go see the place. Well, when you go see the place, if everything looks like you're happy with it, okay, then you should try to, if at all possible, this may seem a little impractical, but I wish we could have done it every time. See if it's possible to spend the night in that house before renting it, okay? Why is that? I don't know how many places we rented. One in particular we rented because it looked perfect. It looked safe. We rented it the next morning at 5 o'clock. The neighbor's dog, he would leave every morning at 5. His dog would get anxiety and would bark nonstop until 7 o'clock. It was, roo, 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 roo. Already you're getting tired of hearing me say that. Okay, imagine that for 2 hours, okay?
And picture that you don't need air conditioning, so the windows are open, so the sound is coming straight into the house.
That's right. So it's important that you could at least spend 24 hours there. And if you could spend the night, well, now you're there for 24 hours and you've had the opportunity to wake up or be awakened by the neighbor's dog at 5 o'clock, you know, or find out that, hey, you know, it's nice and cool. And at 2 o'clock, it gets a little bit warm, but it's not uncomfortable,
right. Might need a
you know.
fan, right? And another house that we stayed in, if we would have spent the night, we maybe would have determined that it was that driveway was a taxi turnaround. It seemed like every taxi, they turned in our driveway for some reason. Then all the neighbor dogs would start barking because a car turned in the driveway. And that went on to, what, like 11, 12 o'clock at night sometimes, that taxis were turning around in the driveway. Another house, we didn't realize, but a few miles away was a quarry. And every morning for about 4 hours, we had to listen to the heavy equipment. Dee, dee, dee. It started at about 5 in the morning.
Right. So even though it was in a secluded place and it looked like it was going to be peaceful and quiet, and it had a phenomenal view, but you had terrible internet reception, but right across the way you could hear And you could see the quarry,
And
which
it-
wasn't bad, but the noise that came from the quarry. So it's important. If at all possible, you need to try to spend as much time in that place before you agree to actually rent it, okay?
Yeah. You know, sound travels.
Yeah.
It was across the valley, and so that sound would come. And then also just realize it's temporary. If
Yeah.
you're running a furnished house,
You've negotiated the price beforehand, right? And so you've already, it's not that you negotiated the price, and you can. And here's where the negotiation comes in. I never sign a contract. Well, I have. I had to sign one contract because it was kind of in a bind and was in a hurry. Anyway, I don't like to sign a contract because I want to know that I've been there. But that's where you can negotiate the price. You can say, look, I'm not going to sign a contract, and I'm not going to put a deposit. You may have to put a deposit, totally up to you. But the negotiation comes in where, okay, look, I don't want to sign a contract. I do probably be if I sign a contract. No, let me read. It overall is better. Okay, so
we are getting some rain.
yeah, we're starting to get a little light rain. But please let me know in the chat box. Can y'all hear and see clearly? Hey, let me know.
Okay, while he's doing that, I see a question. Would you recommend using Airbnb's booking a month at a time? Yes, I would.
Okay, so, all right, looks like we got the clear to go. All right, so you can negotiate by saying, okay, you tell me, try to always, and I want to back up because I said, when you're negotiating the price, always, did I say always? Get the price in colones. Never accept, oh, it's going to cost you $200 a month. Never accept that, okay? Always say, no, I'm here in Costa Rica. I want to pay in colones. What is the monthly price in colones, okay? So,
That's to your benefit because of the exchange rate.
yes. So if, in other words, the house we're renting now, the guy said $200 a month. I said, nope, I'm not paying in dollars. I pay in colones. I'll give you 100,000 colones a month, okay? Now, on just a general change, just so you know, 100,000 colones equates to about 200. So you can just, in your mind, write it down. 50,000 colones is about $100, okay? When we first came here, it used to be that 1,000 colones equaled $2, okay? So you could say 50,000 colones was 100. He told me 200. I said, I'll give you 100,000 colones. Now, the exchange rate will go up and down, and if you agree to $200, well, then you're going to always pay $200. But they're used to getting their money in colones, so they're used to that, always do colones. At 100,000 and the exchange rate going up and down, well, if I would have agreed at $200, I would pay $200, when in reality, when I agreed to 100,000, I'm really paying 160, and now I'm saving $40 a month, okay?
And
Always.
that fluctuates.
And that fluctuates a lot. So always pay for everything in colones. Very huge tip. If you pay for anything in dollars, most of the time you're going to overspend, except for in those few places where they actually have cash registers that actually give it in the correct exchange rate, okay? Always pay in colones for rent, for everything, if at all possible, okay? Very important tip. So always negotiate the price of your monthly rent in colones, and then you can say, okay, if I'm going to pay 100,000 colones a month, if I sign a contract for 1 year, will you bring the price down to 175,000 colones a month? You know, or, 100,000 colones down to 75,000 colones. So now you can negotiate because, and a lot of people will negotiate the price because you're willing to sign a year contract, okay? Not always, but
Don't
most
be
of the
afraid
time.
to negotiate.
That's right.
To try, because they're used to that.
That's right, okay? All right, so now you got a place. Here's a couple of tips that are important. Once you have a place, you need to talk to the landlord and ask them what?
For the physical address. We've run into this problem. We need a physical address to get utilities connected and so forth. And it's not like in the United States where everybody has an actual address.
Yeah, in the United States, everyone has a 911 address.
Right,
That's not the case in Costa Rica.
right. And I remember 30 years ago or so in the United States when they switched to the 911 addresses, everybody had to name their little lanes, give, street names, and pick they assigned you a house number. Well, it's not like that here. People don't have mailboxes at their house. So the address is something like 50 meters north of
The post office.
post office, or whatever the address is.
So let me give you a real practical address, okay? And it would be, like she said, 50 meters north of the post office on the left-hand side next to the giant tree, okay? And the giant tree might not be there anymore, and the post office might have moved, but that's your physical address. So, and what if there's two white houses on the left side, 50 meters past the post office, okay? So, it's not very accurate at all, but you need to know what is your physical address.
What are they using?
Yeah, what are they
Because
using?
It may
okay?
not mean the same thing to you, but what have they been using so that when you give it to EC or to Claro, or they'll know what house you're talking about.
That's right, because
So-
people are going to ask you when you do your banking, you go pay for your utilities. A lot of things are going to ask you what the address is. You just want to have a pizza delivered. What's your address? You
Or
need to
God-
know that physical
God forbid
address.
you need to call 911 and tell them where you're located.
That's right. So you need to know that physical address, but you also need to ask them, because when you pay the electric and the water, it's not going to ever be in your name. Okay, it's always already established in someone else's name. So you need to know what is the account number of the electric, what is the account number of the water, and whose name is the electric in, and whose name is the water in, because it may not be the same person. So that when you do go pay for the electric and the water, and you give him the account number, the guy is going to type it up in the computer, and he's going to say, "Oh, Jose Sanchez?" And you're going to go, "I don't know." So you need to know, because he's going to verify with you, so you're not paying someone else's electric bill. Because if you pay someone else's electric bill, you're not getting a refund. They're just going to say, "Thank you."
And that's the situation most times when you rent a house from an individual. They keep the utilities in their name or their grandpa's name, whoever the house belonged to.
That's right.
They don't, you don't go and get the utilities connected yourself.
That's right. Now, what I did forget to tell you is before you even decide to rent the house, you're in the house looking around to decide whether you want to rent it. It's very, very important that you go look at the breaker box, okay? Because if you're renting some of these smaller Tico homes,
The older homes.
well, even some of the new homes, most Ticos are not going to use near the appliances you use. Most of them are not going to have the toaster oven, the microwave, the rice pot. There's a lot of things that we use.
Hair dryer, flat iron.
That's right. A lot of things we use as gringos or foreigners that they don't use, and so they don't have near. And a lot of the houses that we went into might only have two breakers. Okay?
And if
They may not have a strong wire, or may not even have an electrical wire run to the bathroom so that you can have a suicide shower
That's-
installed in the shower.
That's what I was going to say. You think, okay, well, they don't have hot water. That's all right. I'll buy a suicide shower and I'll just install it. Well, if there's no wiring to support that, electrical device, because it
draws a lot of power.
a lot of electricity.
Now somebody's got to install it. You, the landlord, someone's going to pay for that. Okay, so it's very important. We rented one house in Sabalito. Remember, Jeffrey and Shirley's place. We rented it. Cute little old place. They cleaned it up and it was nice. Had an expansion on it. However, I didn't know to look at the electric box. And as soon as we got in there and we plugged up our few little computers and monitors, well, immediately the lights, it was no power. There was two breakers in the whole house and not enough power. And so we had to either move, or they had to install some more wiring and breakers, and they immediately installed wires and breakers so that we could stay. So it's important to look at that, and that way you know whether you got enough power. In the house we're in right now, as soon as you turn on the shower, if Rebecca's taking a shower, all of a sudden the lights go, and my computer starts draining. You can't turn on the microwave, so
The internet goes down.
the internet goes out. So those are things that you need to know. When I talk to the landlord about the problem, here's his fix. Oh, well, before someone takes a shower, y'all turn everything off. Well, thank you for that fix.
But we're getting such low rent, and it's not forever, so we're
It's
just
not
making do.
forever, that's
he
right.
hollers at me if he sees the internet's going off. and I turn it off.
Rebecca, you're taking all of my power.
So I turn it off for a little while.
So that I can do whatever it is that's most important to finish it up. All right, go take your shower. So the key things to remember. So hey, if these hints and tips are very helpful for you, hey, put in the chat box helpful. Let me know that this is good tips for you. Keep in mind now, this should be helpful even if you want to rent a high end, because the first place you come, it's just temporary, maybe only a month, and that way you have the opportunity to take your time and look for that high-end American standard home so that you can enjoy life. But when you first get here, you might rent just that low-end Tico house so that you can just be somewhere temporary.
Right.
Then again, if you don't care about spending money, you might want to live in a hotel for a month or 2 months, and it doesn't matter to you that you spend $2,000 or $3,000, $4,000 in the short term while you are finding that high-end house. That's totally up to you. Our goal was different, and everyone's goal and perspective is different. So we're just giving you tips on everything. Even the high-end gringo house or the high-end American house, these tips are important, because even those high-end American houses, some of them don't have a problem, but some of them are supposed high-end that a Tico built, and he doesn't know what a high-end American house is. It's high-end for a Tico, but it still has very few breakers and very few electrical boxes, because he only knows what he's used to, and that's Ticos don't have a lot of stuff to plug up.
Right.
That's just fact. And it's cultural, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay?
Right. And again, that is some. There are, like in San Jose, we've stayed in some Airbnb homes that were absolutely gorgeous and had all the outlets and all the lights. They had outdoor lights and patio lights.
That's right, in the city. And so you want to keep in mind, these tips probably are totally irrelevant if you stay in the Central Valley of San Jose and all of those little towns there, because they have some really high-end places, some really fine places, but you will pay some serious dollars for those places, okay? So throw out everything I said.
If budget's not an issue for you, if cost is not an issue for you, you could stay in really gorgeous places.
That's right, okay? So anyway, that gives you an idea. Look at that breaker box. Also, when you're looking at the house, you want to look. If you intend on having a dryer, everybody's going to have a washer, I think. Not in Costa Rica.
Although in most homes, the washing machine is, the connections are outside of the house.
That's right. So that's something for you to understand. The one house I told you about where we was only going to spend $60 a month, they had a tiny porch for the washer. And so I told them, well, look, I'll pay you. Build this, I want to say it was like 9 by 10 or 10 by 10 porch. And I want to put my washer out there, okay? And that way it's nice and secured and walled up or fenced in. So you have to look, where is your, some houses, one house that we stayed in, the washer and dryer hookup was actually inside, and it was a really nice, very unusual, large laundry room with a large washing sink. So not everything is going to be the same, but you need to know where's your washing machine normally going to be at, okay? Because most of the time, 90% of the time, it's going to be outside, but not always, which the reason you need to know is when you come here and you finally do buy a washing machine, we have a high-end washing machine. But Costa Rica, they don't have the usual washing machines, but you can buy high-end washing machines. So, for stuff that we use all the time, I will buy high-end because I don't think I'll spend all day washing machine. I like to put my clothes in there and tell it, wash, and it does. No. not quite that high.
Okay, and I think the point you were trying to make is about the dryer.
That's right.
Most houses do not
Do
have
not
any
have.
kind of connection for dryers. They
'Cause-
just don't use them. We don't use a dryer.
That's
I
right.
hang clothes out. Even in rainy season, it's a little more difficult in rainy season, but you've got to get a little bit of a covered area or just hang them out early in the morning, because even in rainy season, barring a hurricane or a tropical storm, it does not rain till about 11
That's
o'clock
right.
in the afternoon.
At the worst case scenario, most time it doesn't start till 2. But for a dryer, most of the time there's not a dryer hookup, so that means you're going to have to negotiate with the owner if you want a dryer, and because that's going to require, in almost every case, 220 plug-in for your dryer to actually work. And have we ever rented a Tico house that had a 220 plug for a dryer?
That one in Morazan had.
You're right. That one in Morazan was, they were wealthy Ticos, and they had another house, and this, I don't know, anyway.
And they even had a hood over their stove.
No, they had they had remodeled the oven, had a place for the wooden hood, but the hood wasn't there.
That's right. That's right. They had a place for it, but the hood wasn't connected.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they didn't find it important. Like a lot of houses will not have a toilet seat. Okay, we've rented several didn't have a toilet seat, so I went and bought a toilet seat. I mean, come on, it was $10, but it's just a Tico thing. Okay, things that you need to know about. Okay, so hey. I think that is the majority of the tips. Is there any tip that we didn't talk about that is real important, Rebecca?
Any of the tips? I think that was about.
Yeah.
Oh, talk to your landlord about who's going to take care of the lawn.
That's right. Because some places expected me to take care of the lawn. Where we're at now, it was included in the rent that he would, electricity, water, the trash, and the lawn was all included in the rent. Okay?
Right.
So,
and something else. If you're renting a house where the electricity is included, you might want to discuss beforehand with the landlord if you are going to do something like install a
suicide shower.
or install something for
a dryer.
You know,
Yeah.
because it's going to draw a lot of electricity, and if that's been included in your rent, it could cause some problems.
Yeah, you need to
because-
discuss that beforehand.
the electricity is charged on a tiered basis. The more you use, the higher per kilowatt it is.
That's
if
right.
you use very little electricity, the charge per kilowatt is very, it's hardly anything.
That's right. That's right.
But
So
you
that's
start going over that threshold, and it starts getting a lot
That's
higher
right.
per kilowatt.
So whenever they include the electricity, in their mind, they believe you're not going to have a dryer, you're not going to have a suicide shower, you're not going to be welding on something outside. So, that's me. I rented, and then I have a welder, and I started a welding project, and he's like, "What you doing?" And so we had to discuss that. Hey, look. If it's crazy high, I'll be more than glad to pay extra for the electricity, okay? So it's stuff to consider, okay? Now, I think that's the majority of the tips. And so what I want to do, because we do have time, and I do want to keep this to an hour, and we got 15 minutes.
And we are going to make another video that should come out on next Sunday.
That's right, which will show you a lot of video, a lot of pictures, and will give you all of the resources that you need as far as where to find rentals, what about cable, and all of that. Okay, so I want to answer questions, and we want to answer all questions related to rental, and if we have time, we'll answer other ones. But I'm going to answer the questions that was in the forum first. So always, when we do a live, put your questions in the forum. Those will get answered first, and if we got time, we'll answer the others. So let's do that now. Rudy asked, I think I want to live in the southern zone. Ideally, it would be at 65 to 80 degrees temperature, the elevation around 1,500 to 2,500 feet. I would love to have a view of the Pacific coast. And although I'm in my 70s and I'm healthy, I need access to decent medical facilities, and they should be fairly close. My income is around, or my income should be around $3,500 a month. What level of lifestyle should I expect on an American standard if I lived in, if not the southern zone, then what area would you recommend? So with that, let me say this first. If your income is around $3,500 a month and you lived in the southern zone, you're going to be the richest person out there.
I was about to say, you're gonna live
Okay.
like a king.
You're going to live like a king in the southern zone, okay? Because it just does not, you could easily live on $1,000 a month, but you might have to count your pennies, and not eat like a king.
Yeah, and we've had a little bit of people say something about, well, what about this and what about that? When we say $1,000 a month, we're meaning the basics, that you can get by. We're not talking about if your car breaks down, you have to have a surgery,
That's right. So, now the only thing in your question, Rudy, is if you live in the southern zone, somewhere around San Vito, or past Paris Celadon, you're not going to get a view of the Pacific coast. Now, wait a minute, I'm lying. Maybe not. If you were in Golfito, you would have a view of the Gulf, which is in the Pacific, but not the Pacific coast.
Right.
Okay. But there are some places around San Cudo Beach, but the elevation wouldn't be there. So, I think I've answered that question. You could live in the southern zone. You'd have great temperatures. You just would not have a view of the ocean. Medical facilities would be there, and that would be great. You could live around Sabalito, San Vito, medical facilities close. You could live like a king on $3,500 a month, okay? And you could really find a great place to live that wouldn't be a Tico-style home for that much, for that kind of money, okay? All right. I hope I answered your question, Rudy. If you're on live, put in the chat box that I answered your question. If not, rephrase it. Mike, next question. Mike says, I would need to share a place with someone, and I'd like to be able to spend $250 a month on my share. And I also need to be in cooler, quiet, beautiful environment. I do need access to medical care, a farmer's market, transportation, a friendly, helpful people, and I also need to know how to access my money, which is a Canadian bank, affordably, okay? And where can I look to find a decent place to rent? I'm considering, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Grecia, which I know where that's at,
Gracia.
Antennas, and San Isidro del General, okay? I probably butchered a lot of that out. Now, you can easily, let's quickly talk about banking. Banking, you can easily continue using your bank, use your ATM card to withdraw everything, and you can affordably withdraw things with your ATM.
What he's saying is you don't have to get a Costa Rican bank
That's
account
right.
to be able to live here. It does make things a little bit easier, like you can pay utilities online, you can maybe transfer money to someone else, but it's not required.
That's right. That's right. So that's something to think about. Now, Mike said, hey, I would like to share with someone for $250 a month. And you know what? That's what makes the forum just phenomenal. Join the forum where you can connect with other people, and you can put this exact comment in the forum, and you'll meet someone else who wants to roommate, and together y'all can discuss and talk via private chat, all kind of things, and y'all can connect on the forum.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we put the forum together, so you can meet other people, you can connect with other people, and you can say, hey, you can chit chat and you can connect and do things together.
Right.
Okay.
And there are people that rent just a room in their house, or
That's
a
right.
little outdoor kitchen type place. So there are opportunities to do that, and we've even seen opportunities where older Americans or Canadians are asking for just assistance. Like, you can live in their house, part of their house, pretty much for free, in exchange for going to the grocery for them, going
And-
maybe pick up their
And cooking their meals.
cooking their meals, right? So
That's right.
that's also, it's rare, but
Yeah.
I've seen at least
Yeah.
3 different situations.
That's right. And Mike, you can live almost anywhere and have access to a farmer's market. Almost every town has access to a farmer's market. Almost every town has transportation, although depending on where you're at or how remote, you might have to walk to the transportation, which might be, usually fairly close. But you pick and choose. Transportation, public transportation is great, and almost everybody is friendly. Just don't let your guard down so that you don't get cheated, okay? Because you can easily get taken advantage of. I'm going to throw this out because I don't like to say anything negative, but you do want to be careful, because I once 80-year-old guy, he was in this place and he was there for a long time. He was only paying $700 a month. He trusted the people. He'd been there for years. And so he just started giving this woman her debit card or his debit card so that she could just go to the bank and take out the $500 a month to pay the rent. And long story short, she slowly drained his entire account of thousands upon thousands of dollars. So you can't, I don't care. You've been with them for 10, 15 years. Got to be careful.
Right. And the reason we say this is not anything different about Costa Rica. You should be that way anywhere in the world.
Wherever you
any
are.
country.
That's right.
Don't
Doesn't
be
matter
naive.
what country you're in.
Right.
Don't be naive.
And
Don't,
just be too trusting. The reason we say it about Costa Rica is because the people are very friendly. You hear that all the time. They are very helpful. And so it's a little easier here, I find, to just be overly trusting.
We've both been very overly trusting,
Yeah.
way too many times.
I mean, when I've been in the United States, I don't trust people that
That's
much.
right. Because they're so friendly, I'm over
Yeah,
trusting.
and there's a lot of crime and things that happen. But here, there's really not that much.
Yeah, the crime is not
crime.
nearly as bad as in many places in the United States. So it's easy to be over trusting, but you got to keep in mind when they see that money and they're poor, it's too much temptation. That's all it is. Okay. So let's go on to the next question. Bringing up wildflowers. That's her username in the forum. So bringing up wildflowers asks, my family of 4, including 2 children, have been considering a move to Costa Rica and have been doing our research in the past several months. Now, I still haven't pinpointed the area for our family. However, what areas would you suggest a family with young school-age children go to? And we're planning on visiting soon so that we can get a better idea of the country that we're all excited about. So, a mama and dad with 2 kids. Rebecca, you answer that question. Where would you suggest, what do you believe would be a great place for 2 children?
Well, just like we didn't address with Mike, I recommend San Isidro, Perez Zeledon. And it's strictly because it has everything, but it's smaller than San Jose. San Jose is just a big city, but just like any big city, there are wonderful, awesome communities, or neighborhoods that have their own little store and everything that you don't really have to venture out into the city. But we haven't lived in San Jose, but we've stayed in San Jose and we know people in San Jose and they're very happy. At the same time, we hear about certain neighborhoods that have a lot of crime that, people are afraid to go walk at night. If you wanted to live in San Jose, I would say just talk to the locals. They all know where those neighborhoods are, and they can tell you.
That's right.
To stay out of those neighborhoods.
Stay out of that neighborhood.
It's no different from any other big city.
That's right.
But
we stayed in one area called Morazan, and where we stayed at, we didn't know that crime was so bad there. And when we say crime, you have to understand that the majority of the crime is petty theft.
Yeah.
Now, it's not kidnapping, murder, rape. Talk to the Ticos there. Go to the bars. Talk to the Ticos there.
The farmers market.
Hey, is the Morazan area? What is it like as far as, in your opinion, the crime or the petty theft? You find out. The Quebradas area is Quebradas is much better than Morazan. You can find out. So anyway, in the place we were at, man, they got a fence all the way up around that place because obviously the crime just was.
The theft, yeah.
The theft was so bad.
We were robbed twice there.
We were robbed there several times.
Okay. But Perez
Zeledon. And pause a moment. When we say rob, no one came in with a gun and robbed us. They robbed it while we were gone. Okay.
Yeah.
And whether and it's simply they cut the screen and they reached in there with a great big. Okay. That's right.
Okay, I think we're back. Okay.
All right, I think we're back.
So the reason I recommend Perez Zeledon, San Isidro, is because there's not much crime there, and it's just you can get everything, and there's mountains all around it, so you can live at a higher altitude, and the rent seems to be to be good.
Yeah, I think you can find some high-end things around, well, almost anywhere. But
for $800, you can find a really nice place around Perez Zeledón
Yeah,
area.
yeah,
Whereas
you really-
in San Jose, I think probably 1,000 or more to get a really nice house.
Right. I mean, you'll find Tico houses that we're paying $100 a month to $200 a month for in San Jose. That's going to cost you $500 or $600, $700. So it's just because a lot of poor people will move to San Jose to make money. Everything's more expensive in San Jose. That's all. Okay.
And the proximity to the beach.
That's right. So so the suggestion there would be to live in the San Isidro area. I think you'd be great there. Okay.
Yeah, there's good schools.
Yeah. Now, Wildflowers also asked a couple of other real quick questions I'll address real quick. She says, how much do you recommend getting a house with AC? We live in the desert of Southern California. We're used to dry heat in the summer with highs of like 105 degrees. But we use our AC in the summer a lot, and I believe that the summers there are quite humid, so a swamp cooler is suitable enough. Okay, a swamp cooler, for the people that don't know, really is like a great big huge fan, and you can actually hook up a hose to it and kind of mist things out there, and it kind of cools things out. And it may not actually be a mist out there, some do, but it cools the air using water and a great big fan, okay? Now, let me tell you that you'll probably never need that here unless you was on the beach. But on the beach, you get this nice cool air that comes off the beach. So you probably would never need a swamp cooler. And on the beach, you have air conditioners. If you're in the mountains or anywhere with elevation, if you're used to 105-degree temperatures, you probably would never wear clothes where we live at because it's nice and cool, and you're used to 105-degree temperatures, okay?
We get a little chilly in the mountains, but when we go down to Perez Zeledón in the city to do some shopping or whatever, it gets a little bit warm. Not enough where I think you have to put on an air conditioner.
That's right.
But it gets a little bit warm because there's not as much air circulation
Right.
because it's surrounded by the mountains.
Now, Wildflowers, her last question is very, very good. So write this down because everybody needs to know this. She says, when is the best time to search and get into a rental contract? That is a great question. So the best time to get a rental contract is always going to be in the rainy season. In the high season starts May?
May.
May till May,
November.
let's see, May, November,
No,
okay.
October, I'm sorry.
Okay,
May to October.
so in the high season,
October, yeah.
May to October, a lot of people have their houses on Airbnbs, and obviously it makes more sense for them to rent on a daily basis and get a lot more money, okay? However, all that stuff stops renting as soon as the high season is over. So around October, November, December, they're not even thinking about it because they've gotten enough money and made a lot. But come around January, they start to sweat.
Yeah, January I would say, because still in December there's a little bit of a Christmas season rush, and that a lot of people take their Christmas holiday in Costa Rica.
That's right. And in Costa Rica, they're getting the end of the month Christmas bonus, okay, where they get a whole month extra payday. So in January, February, March, April, those are great times to be looking for those long rental term contracts. And you can get some great deals because they are needing to rent at that point in time. Okay, so that's a great question. All right, so those are the questions that was on the forum. I'm going to take a look at any questions because we're actually out of time. But let me see if there's some I can quickly answer. Okay, so if you have a question that's really important and I haven't answered it yet through all the stuff that we've been talking about, go ahead and put it in. And hey, I do want to encourage you before we run out of time to hey, if you haven't already joined the forum, join the forum. Have fun in there. And if you like what we do, love what we do, hey, support us simply by becoming a premium member in the forum. It's very, very cheap, but it's a way to help support us so that we can continue to do what we love doing, and that's giving you awesome content. Not just lives, but to give you these videos that show you relevant content, show you videos, show you images so that you can understand, answer all of your questions, okay? Someone asked, how about the travel insurance to visit, okay? Do we still need that? Right now, Costa Rica still requires the travel insurance. We're going to give you a link, okay? because Rebecca just found a resource, because we do have some friends and got a very low price, but we'll give you several links to that
Yeah.
so that
one's
you
a,
can.
One's a private insurance, and it was a little cheaper, but our friends decided to go with the insurance from the government of Costa Rica because even it was just a few dollars more, and it had better coverage.
That's right. That's right. So we'll give you those resources. I want to take time to just say, hey, thanks to Mike. Mike said, hey, I'm premium now, and I appreciate all that you do for me. So he says, I'm premium now in the forum. Thank you, Mike. I do greatly appreciate it. Okay. Chuck said, look, I joined the forum, but I never got the verification email. Chuck, make sure that if you don't get that verification email, send me an email to forum@cloudforestchapel.com so that I can help you. When you do sign up at the forum, you do have to have a good email address, or make sure you didn't accidentally type in
Or it could
a
have gone
mistype.
in
You
the
know,
trash or the bulk.
that verification might have went into spam,
Spam.
trash, junk. So, but contact me where I can manually approve you, or make sure, try again that you didn't accidentally type in the wrong email address. But hey, contact me so that I can get you in the forum. Okay. Lots of people saying appreciate your videos. Thank you. I hadn't heard any more on the incentive laws. We know that they are still working on that.
We are trying to keep up with that and let you know as soon as we hear something.
Oh, someone here, Douglas says, what are 3 of the most walkable cities, towns to live in? No car and Walmart type store in walking distance. Okay.
There's Zeledon.
The only walking one is going to be in San Isidro, okay? Because it does have a Walmart. It is the only place outside of San Jose where you will find a Walmart, okay? But you did say Walmart type store. So
There's Maxi Pally's.
there are Maxi Pally's,
That
which
is
are
the-
owned by Walmart. So you could live in the heart of San Vito, and that's very walkable. And they do have, well, they have a Pally. I don't know that they have a Maxi Pally.
No, they just have a Pally.
They have a
That's right.
Pally, but they have great stores that are big enough that you could walk to and buy everything that you need. Okay, so San Vito would be one. I would highly
Sabalito.
recommend Sabalito. Yeah, San Vito.
Those are in the southern.
Yeah, other than that, you would have to be in the Central Valley. And I'm not a city person. If you're a city person, you'll love the Central Valley. It's gonna cost you more.
There's plenty of communities, neighborhoods in San Jose, and we tend to call that whole area San Jose, but
Yeah.
it's really not. There's Alajuela. I can't think of the other, but several little communities surrounding San Jose, and they're walkable. I mean, up until when we first got here, not that many people had cars.
That's right.
And the bus system
To
is
this
amazing.
day, you will still see people using their horse for transportation. Just the other day, going down through rivers, a guy was going right down the middle of town on his horse. So it's not uncommon. There's a lot of people that don't have vehicles. They still use their horse. Motorcycles, there are more motorcycles than there are cars, okay? So you just have to understand that. Hey,
And the bus system in Costa Rica is fabulous.
that's right.
You
Now-
can get from one end of the country to what did we
Oh,
price?
just the other day, it was about $18 to go from San Jose all the way to Paso Canoas to do your stamp out. And a lot of people would just get on the bus, go, they under $20 all the way to Paso Canoas. You can stamp out. Once you stamp out, spend the night, get on the bus the next day, come back, and you're done. Very cheap.
That was $20 one way.
Yeah, $20 one way.
Yeah, so it'd be $40 round.
Another
trip.
quick question. Someone said, where is the forum? I missed the link. Okay, so easy to access the forum. Simply go to forum.cloudforestchapel.com. So forum.cloudforestchapel.com. That'll bring you to the forum where you can register for free. Have a great time. And if you want to support us, just sign up as a premium member to the forum, okay? And the next thing is, someone says, where are you originally from, Alan? I'll give you one guess. It's Cajun country. Louisiana is where we're both originally from, but I'm a real Cajun. She's a faux Cajun, okay?
The only thing real Cajun about you is your last name.
Oh no, now she's starting to fight here. I eat crawfish. No. Okay.
Yeah, and the forum right now, it's just getting started. We're excited that it's done, but it's going to become more and more valuable as
we get
people,
more and more people, right?
join, right? And we're going to work on our end to invite our Tico friends and some expats, so that they, you have a variety of people in there that are going to give
That's right.
their experience.
And there's a lot of expats that are on today. We would love you to be a part of the forum. And a lot of expats, especially here, are so helpful who are answering questions. This way, other experienced expats that are here, professionals, they can answer your questions instead of getting everything just from us. Because, at one time I thought I knew everything and I found out I didn't. But anyway, so hey, join the forum and become active. Realize it is empty, but hey, you start posting questions, people will start answering, and we can fill that forum up quickly. Now, there's a good question here. Alibob, I think is the correct way, says, how do you normally pay for your rent? Do you have a standing order via bank or cash?
That's a
great. I'm glad you said that. So I'm gonna probably end with this question here because we're a few minutes past the hour. Not that we can't keep going, and maybe I will. Who knows? There's still a lot of people on here. I love engagement, so I might just stay here and let you buy me lunch. Okay. Okay. So the question: how do you normally pay? Well, we normally pay because what the owner will do is give you their account number, their bank account number, and their name. And if you have online banking, you just can transfer it to them. But in order to transfer it to them, then you would have to have a Costa Rican bank, which would then require you to have a corporation. So you're normally just going to pay with colones. So every month, either you will go there, or she will come to you, or he will come to you, and you just pay with colones. Where we're at right now, and most of the time, our landlord comes and we just pay him. Okay?
Well, in some places, you can just take the colones to the bank.
Yeah,
and,
you can
tell them deposit this
into so and so's account. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, even if you had American dollars, you could do that, but then you pay
way too much, and then there's a transfer fees and the conversion.
Yeah, the conversion rate.
Yeah.
But you just take it to the bank and tell
'Cause
them to deposit it in that
and
person's
so-and-so's account.
or pay them in cash if they come by.
That's right, because some of your landlords may not live next door to you. Most of them will, but some of them don't, and they give you their account number, and they give you their name. You go to the bank and you just pay them that amount in colones. Always pay everything in colones, okay? Which keeps in mind, where do you pay your electric? Where do you pay your water? You can almost always pay your electric and your water at almost any little bitty pulperia, which is a small convenience store, or any bank. You just go into the grocery store and you ask him, hey, I want to pay my electric bill. And he'll point you to the right register. So almost all of them, it's a service that's provided because
you can recharge your cell phone, like 5 more minutes for your cell phone or tablet at the grocery store, pay your utilities. You can even pay the once a year marchamo, which is the insurance and the tax. You can pay that at the grocery store too, as long as it's not late.
That's right.
If you go past the deadline, then you have to go into the office to pay it.
That's right. Hey, Larry brings up a good point here because we was talking about the washers and the dryers, and he was living in Jaco. Now, I don't know if that was high-end or not. I would expect it to be high-end, but he said, hey, we was renting a place in Jaco, and we had an indoor washer and dryer, but they had no vent for the dryer, and that is not surprising. The matter of fact, I want to say that the house that we rented in Morazan, where they did have a plug for the dryer, didn't have a vent there either. See?
It's just that they're not used to having, most people don't have a dryer.
I would say that 99.5 or 99.9% of Ticos don't have a dryer. They have a dryer, and it's called a clothesline.
Yeah, I mean, why would you? When the electricity gets expensive, if you use a dryer, why
That's
would
right.
they do that when they have this gorgeous weather?
That's right. So, it's important to know. I mean, it's amazing here. It's the Pura Vida lifestyle, okay? They will hang their clothes up outside, and if they don't have a clothesline, that's okay. I'm throwing my clothes over the bushes. I'm putting my clothes on the rock. I'm hanging my clothes on the car. I'm putting my clothes on the barbed wire fence. I know that the wind might rip a hole in it, but that's okay. Pura Vida, okay? So it's different lifestyle, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, okay?
Yeah. It's just different from what we're used to.
Right, you know.
Not to say that it's better in the United States. It's just
It's just different.
lifestyle.
It's cultural and it's okay.
Yeah.
There's
Now,
nothing wrong with it.
I do have to say that in the height of rainy season, rainy season's for 6 months, but it's not intense. I'd say until like
The last
end
couple of months,
October,
yeah.
like around October. And when it gets to that point where it's raining early in the morning and throughout the day, it is almost impossible to get to hang your clothes out. So
That's right.
there are times that I'm like, oh, I wish I had a dryer. And
right.
especially if you're going to have a business, if you're coming here and you're maybe buying a B&B, or a little restaurant or whatever, you've got to wash tablecloths or you've got to wash linens, you might
Yeah.
want to have a dryer for sure.
Yeah. Now, here's another great question. Karen says, are the plugs 110? Good question. Yes, they are. All the plugs are 110, and so you won't have any problem plugging up all your standard electronics.
Yeah, even the older houses have
Yeah.
110.
Yeah.
You may not be able to plug up more than 2 things, but
Oh, here's a great question. Chef Danielle says, is it safe to keep the windows open? Absolutely, it's safe to keep the windows open. Almost every house has bars on the window, so if your house catches on fire, okay, I'm not going to go there. Almost every house has bars on it. You can keep the windows open. Matter of fact, where we live at, okay, I don't know whether I should admit this or not, but we haven't closed the front door in I don't know how long, because we like the flow of air coming in. And our dog can go out anytime it wants to go use the bathroom and whatever. So we have our dog, which is very good. So that's an alarm system in itself.
I
but
don't know that I would recommend that for everybody.
I would not recommend that for everybody, okay?
We're living in a community.
In a dead-end street with the neighbors right next to us and her 15 dogs. And so, yeah.
Ain't nobody coming around.
Ain't nobody sneaking up on me. I'm going to hear them, 100 feet away.
Our dog is very vigilant as well. But, that was one thing I wanted to say. Because we had a single woman or a woman with a child ask if it would be safe. I would either live in a gated community or some type of condo that has security. Or if I found a place like what we're living in now, in a family community, because they watch out for each other and they watch out for you if you're living there.
If you're in a family environment.
The brother on one side, the grandmother on another side, and the sister on the back side. And so we are nestled in there, and if we leave, they let us know if somebody came by, or they keep an eye on our place. They love our dog. So
let me hit a couple of quick questions here. Someone said, what about renting with dogs? Costa Rica has gone to the dogs. Costa Rica is a dog-friendly country.
Dogs rule in Costa Rica.
That's right.
I'm not exaggerating. When we arrived and went to San Vito, the southern area, the dogs amazed me in that they lay in the street and they're not worried about you running over them. Now, that's not the case in the city. I'm talking about down south. We were amazed. But Costa Ricans just love animals. Never see anybody try to purposely hit an animal. In fact, you'll often see all the cars stop, like if a sloth is crossing the road or any kind of animal.
Very animal-friendly and conscious country.
The highways are, the whole highway, there'll be signs, caution, animal crossing.
That's right.
And so,
and another quick,
dogs.
So dog-friendly, you shouldn't have any problem renting with a dog in most places. Dennis has a great question. In the current economy state that you're in, is there still an opportunity to house sit? Okay. Honestly, right now, it's very difficult to house sit because there's nobody coming and going. Now, obviously, things are getting better right now. Right now, forget house sitting. Just ain't happening, okay, because there's nobody going and coming. We house sat a lot, and that was simply because every rainy season they would go home or people would go on vacation, and it's important that you have a house sitter because if you don't, you'll come back and your roof is gone, okay? So it's important you have a house sitter. So, no, you can forget about house sitting for right now, but I believe it will come back quickly.
Yeah. In fact, we rode around yesterday trying to just see what houses were for rent, getting video for the next video that's going to come out. And we saw that there were a lot less houses for rent right now.
That's right.
And just in our own estimation, our own determination, it's probably because people just aren't moving around.
That's right. They're not moving around like they were, and
right.
so there's
In
not
fact,
many rentals available.
Some of the better houses that we rented were because it was a Tico that went to the United States, and they, let somebody rent their house.
Yeah, and a lot of the Ticos that went to the United States have come home because of the whole COVID situation. So less houses are available for rent,
Right.
but there's still plenty of houses.
Yeah, there's still
Okay.
plenty, but it's less.
Yeah. Now here's another quick question: can you paint rental homes? Hey, yes, you can. We painted several of them, and here's what we've done. Obviously, communicate with the landlord. And what I've always done is I'd say, hey, look. And that's the reason I try not to ever pay a deposit. I try not to ever do a contract. I let them know ahead of time. You can talk to any of the people we've rented from. Their houses are always in better shape when we leave than when we came, because I always end up painting to make things look bright and airy. And I usually say, hey, look, I will make this place nice. You just got to pay for it, okay? I buy the paint. You pay, I'll go buy it, okay? And I'll ask you, okay, I want to paint. And I want to go buy this paint. Are you okay with it? Yes. I buy the paint. And then when it comes time for the rent, I give them my receipts, okay, minus, and I take out the rent out of that, okay?
Right.
So we've done a lot of work on houses, made them look really nice.
Right, and I know that is true. However, the house in Morazan, the lady did not want us to.
She
to
made
paint.
it clear in the beginning,
She
don't
said that,
paint.
right.
So
She
you,
said,
you do have to
"Please."
talk to.
Right.
See
She had
the
gone
people.
through a lot of trouble, she said, to pick out those paint colors, and she did not want us to paint.
That's right. So that's just things for you to keep to know about, okay? So and I think that's probably most of the questions there. Let me scan all the way to the bottom in case something came in here while I was looking at all of this. Okay, so all right, Karen said, Karen, she tried posting forum.cloudforestchapel. I did have to actually, I have to approve it. Any links that come through there, it won't allow it unless I put it in there. But thank you so much, Karen, for actually trying to post that on there to make it easier for everybody to find the forum. Thank you so much for trying that. But now that you know, I just wasn't monitoring the chat box. Okay. Doug says we have our dryer hooked up, and he's utilizing solar electric. So that's something, once you get here and stay,
Right.
that's something that we're in the process of doing. Is I've already paid for our solar stuff, and it's going to go on to the house that we're going to be building very soon here. Don't tell anybody about our secret. That's supposed to be a surprise. But anyway, yes, you can save a lot of money by buying solar stuff and putting that on your home whenever you do decide to do that, and save lots of money, okay?
Right. Something that we didn't really mention. This is something that I guess I'm just going to say it so that you're not in shock or terribly disappointed. But if you rent an older house, a lot of them were built without, what do they call it, without P-traps.
Yeah.
In the U.S., the sewer systems have what they call a P-trap.
Or any drainage water has a P-trap. So in case you don't know what that is, underneath your kitchen sink, if you look in your kitchen sink and you open up the cabinets, the water comes down and it simply makes a U and then comes back down. And that U, that P-trap right there, holds water so no air can come up the tube, and otherwise you'll smell stuff coming through there. Costa Rica, they just don't use P-traps, okay? It's an added expense. And so a lot of times, depending on where you're at, you're going to get some funk coming out of the shower drain. You'll get funk, depending. So sometimes that's a problem.
Yeah.
And we've had to, in some of the places that we've lived in, we've had to ask them. I've installed P-traps in the kitchen in places where that funk was at. But one place it was really bad in the shower, and they had to, try to fix that for us.
And the landlords did fix that for us. But that's a big deal, asking somebody to fix that. So
That's
if
right.
you're staying there just temporarily, it's not that big
It's
of a
temporary,
deal.
yeah.
But just to mention it, because you may think something terrible is wrong. Well, it's just the codes or
Yeah.
the building codes are not the same for these older houses. A lot of them, the people, they were built by the owners themselves.
That's
It's
right.
not like they hired some contractor to come and build this house. A lot of them were built
That's
by
right.
the owners.
So.
So
All right, so I'm getting ready to close this down because we have already been going, I want to say 70 minutes So if you have any pressing questions that I haven't answered, now's the time to put them in the chat box, because we do want to try to answer your questions. We have gone a lot longer. We want to try to keep these as short as possible so that people, when they are on the channel, they're live, people look at a video and they're like, dang, an hour long. I don't want to watch an hour or 70 minutes, you know. So we always want to try to keep it under an hour. But hey, I have so much fun. I love answering your questions, okay? So if you have any last minute questions, please put them in there now. We do want to say thank you so very much, so very much for getting in here. Some people said, hey, I would love to be premium on the forum. How do I get premium? And so if you access any of the private forums, if you go to any of the private forums, I know some of them are empty, click on it where it says private forum. It will open up and say that you don't have access, but click here to purchase premium, and then you can click there to purchase premium, and then all you got to do is give me 24 hours, because it is a manual process where I can then upgrade your membership to premium, and you'll have access to everything that's premium, and it's just a a great way to thank us and to support us. So that's how you do that. Okay, a lot of people saying thank you.
I did think of two more things.
Okay, you got two more things. Rebecca says she got two more things. She's got her own questions and her answers.
Okay, one situation is if there's not trash pickup in the community.
And that's great.
Yeah, we don't have trash pickup, and so in this community that we're in, and that's been the case in several areas because we live in remote areas. Okay, so people burn their trash, and picture you have an open window, and so the neighbors are burning their poo-poo paper because in Costa Rica, most of the what do you call this? The sewer.
The septic tanks.
Septic tanks.
Okay.
Most of the septic tanks are very small. They don't want you to throw paper in the toilet. They want you to burn the paper.
Okay, so
it's
let me just
something to
briefly talk about
consider.
that, okay? Because there's a lot of false information out there. Some people said, oh, well, you can't flush it because the pipes are too small. No, the problem is that the septic tanks are very small. It's kind of like a 55-gallon drum. So imagine if everyone put their toilet paper in there, it fills up quick. And they don't have roto-rooters, maybe in the big city, but most
in
places.
the cities, they're probably connected to the
They're connected to the city sewage.
sewer.
So most places don't have a roto-rooter like you do in the United States, where your septic tank gets full, the roto-rooter comes out, sucks it all out of there, and disposes of it properly. So in Costa Rica, it's just common. Don't flush anything down the toilet. And so every bathroom has this very foul trash can, and every house, if they don't have trash pickup, they go out there and they burn their trash. And of course it's wet and nasty, and so instead of it actually burning, it simmers, and the wind blows that smoke right in your house, and it's like, oh, close the window. So it's just something you have to understand and know about. Ask your landlord, is there trash pickup? Okay.
Yeah, and what do y'all do? The community that we're in right now, they don't have trash pickup, but they handle it very well. We've not smelled anything. Nobody burns the trash, and they take care of our trash for them. I think the family has a truck, and they take care of that. But we have lived in an area where the houses were kind of close together, and it was just customary. Everybody was burning their trash, and it affected my allergies.
Yeah.
You can stand the smell, I suppose. It's just a few minutes a day, but it affected my allergies.
Yeah,
so.
I love to do outdoor things and rake the leaves and stuff like that and burn stuff, and I have to just pick my times because the smoke just affects Rebecca a lot. So if you have issues with that kind of stuff, something you need to know about. And that brings up a good point, because living in Costa Rica, a lot of people that have allergy issues don't have the same allergy issues here, because in the United States you have the problem with the pollen falling one time a year. You don't have that problem here. So it's a good thing. You come here, your allergies are much better.
Yeah. And let me say, why we're mentioning a lot of negative things, because we're just giving tips, things you might not be expecting, or things to look out for. My goodness, there's so much wonderful. So don't let any negative thing like burning the trash deter you, because the beauty, the peace.
And most places do have trash pickup, so you're not going to run into a whole lot of places where they burn their trash. That's going to be really remote areas, okay? But once again, we have lived almost everywhere. We have lived in some of the most remote places. We are very different, and you know, we are more about the experience. If we go somewhere and we have lived in places where it's been very hot and they burn the trash, hey, we've experienced real raw Costa Rica, and we can share with you our experience so that you won't make that mistake if that's a bad thing for you, okay? So, you know, we're very different. There's a lot of things we don't like, but not enough to leave because we love Costa Rica.
Right. It's wonderful, and it's developing. So
we're
everything's getting
definitely
better.
enjoying it, okay? Hey, good question here. How much is the land selling for in Rivers per square meter? And that question is impossible to answer. That's where you really want to always ask questions and not be afraid to negotiate. So let me just share with you. It's very important, I told you, if you find a place that you want to rent, always get your friend, the person that you rented the Airbnb from. Do me a favor, would you call and ask how much this is for rent so you get the correct price, okay? To prove a point, just the other day I saw this tiny piece of property. I had my good friend Pablo call, and it was a tiny 340 square meter property. Tiny thing, okay? I said, Pablo, call him and ask him how much he wants for that piece of property, okay? And so he called him, and the guy says, oh, I want 8 million colones for this piece of property. So Pablo forwards me the message, 8 million colones, 340 square meters. That roughly is about 25,000 colones per square meter, if I remember right in the conversation. And that's high. So 8,000,
What is that in dollars? Do you remember?
8 million colones, that would normally be about $16,000 roughly converted, you know, on
The
a norm
conversion
half
rate
to half,
now
okay?
it would be a lot
It would be a
less.
little bit lower now, probably around, instead of 16,000, maybe 14,000. Anyway, my point is, he told the Tico 8 million colones. I waited a few days. I turned around and contacted the guy myself. And of course, I don't know Spanish. I'm typing it in English. He knows I'm gringo. In just a couple of minutes, the price had gone from 8 million colones to 9 million colones. I now get the privilege of spending $2,000 more because I'm gringo. Ching ching! So, it's just a fact. Get your friend to ask the price, okay?
Yeah. We have some resources that in the PDFs. Is it in the PDFs of websites that you can go to and look at the different properties that are for sale, and it'll tell you the square footage and how much they're asking per square footage, and you'll see there's, oh my goodness, such a difference from one piece of property to the other. It's really hard to say any particular price. I don't know that we can even say an average.
Yeah, I really can't. You know,
Because it all depends.
it all
Things like
depends on where it's at.
Water running through the property, that changes the value. It being road front
Yeah,
or
so,
road easily, road accessible, that changes the value. Is proximity to the beach, that changes the value. Oh, and that's another rental tip that I forgot to mention. Some properties require a 4x4. That's another reason that I would not get into a long-term rental without seeing it first.
Yeah.
Because you may have to then turn around and purchase a 4x4 just to be able to get to your house.
yeah.
To the
So,
house you rent.
yeah. So anyway, hey, I think that's it. Hey, I greatly appreciate it. I don't see any more questions in here. And hey, I greatly appreciate all of you being here. Once again, if this is your first time here, hey, I'm Alan, and this is my sidekick. No, Nikki's my sidekick. This is my better half, Rebecca, and we greatly appreciate you being here. Hey, please take a moment just to sign up for a free account at the forum and post some questions, answers. We greatly appreciate you being here. We always love doing lives, and we're hoping the internet. We are presently working on something that we'll tell you about later so that we can have better internet. But until now, we're making do with what we can, and we greatly appreciate all of you just being patient with us, being understanding, and knowing, hey, it is what it is for right now, but we're doing the best we can to give you the best information possible, and we're going to continue doing that, and we're going to have fun doing it.
We're enjoying every day in Costa Rica.
That's right.
And
So
hope you can join us.
We hope you're enjoying it. We love your input. We love everything that you're doing. So jump in the forum, have a lot of fun with us, and we can't wait to meet you and just build some relationships and helping you find your slice of paradise in Costa Rica. Until then, we're going to see you next week. All right, folks, we'll talk at you later. How do I turn it off?